right, today's guest speaker is Adam Robinson. Adam's been an entrepreneur for more than 24 years. He's experienced many ups and downs of owning small businesses, including acquisitions, building, selling, bankruptcy, successfully exiting, and just about everything in between. His work currently involves helping entrepreneurs, founders, and other business professionals achieve their goals through his company's brands, Strategex, Catalyst Book Club, and a new project called Love on People Out Loud. Adam also serves as the director of Startup Grind in Louisville. He's passionate about sharing his experiences, resources, and knowledge to help others achieve their goals and reach their full potential. He's married to an amazing woman and blessed to be the father of 3 wonderful children. In his spare time, he enjoys working out, reading, and coaching football. Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Robinson.
How was everybody today? Good, good. Well, I'm excited to be here. And I tell you, whenever I'm in a group of entrepreneurs like this, I always get so fired up, especially hearing retention rate. That's amazing. Amy already hitting her Q1 goals. And even in the introduction, Mark talking about how Amy and husband Jeff have retold their story and the impact that that has had on the growth of their business. So that's really exciting because that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So I know I just jumped right in here and talking. Can everybody see me online? Are we good to go with that? Okay, perfect, excellent. Well, this is a topic I could literally stand up here and talk about all day long. I've got like 45 minutes, so I'm going to do my best to keep it concise. And I promise you all don't want to just hear me stand up here and blab. So for those of you that are in the room, we're going to make this interactive. We're going to make this fun. I'm going to ask for feedback from you all. I want you to share some of your stories. So I really want to get you all involved so it's not just me up here blabbing and talking. So let me ask you this right off. What is the most recent movie that you have seen that's had a compelling, gripping story where you're like, wow, that was amazing? Anybody got one of those? Anybody?
Peanut Butter Falcon.
Peanut Butter Falcon? I have not seen that one yet, but I heard it's really good. Let me ask you, what made it so memorable for you?
It was seeing that putting a special needs person into a main role of a movie and then making it seem real that watch how the system had just put this kid in an institution and his goal was to just go live. And the story lets you see a person living that's doing it in a different way than I could ever do it.
Love it. Good stuff. So it drew those emotions out, right? Did it elicit a pretty big emotional response from you?
Right.
Awesome. All right. Anybody else?
I had one, but I don't remember the name of it.
Got it. Okay.
I have one.
Yes.
There's a movie on Netflix called A Life on Our Planet. It's
Okay.
by David Attenborough, and I'm a big Blue Planet nerd and all that. But he's 93 years old. He's one of the original environmentalists, and it was awe-inspiring.
That's really good.
Really incredible. And then just seeing everything he's done from 1950 on, it was cool. Really worth watching. Everybody should watch it.
What's the name of it again?
It's A Life on Our Planet. He's 93 years old, and it's his mission statement to the world.
Got it. Okay. We'll have to check that out. So the most recent movie I've seen that has been wow, it's called Greenland, and it is on Amazon. It is an amazing movie. I'm not going to give it away. Just the whole storyline is that there's this asteroid that's passing close to the Earth. Fragments of it are breaking off and impacting, and just the story of a family fighting through this. It has been a long time since I've seen a movie that got me that emotionally jacked up. I mean, it was intense to a level unlike I've experienced in a long time. And part of it is because I've got a 5.5-year-old and I really resonated with a lot of the things that the dad was going through in the movie and tried to put myself in that. So the reason why I asked this at the very beginning is that as humans, we are wired for story, right? As humans, we are meant to connect with other humans. We're communal beings. And when we hear a good story, there's things about that go down to the depths of our soul that sometimes we can't describe. So with our businesses and the work that we do, if we learn how to share our story in a powerful way, it is amazing what you can do to attract the right clients to you, the people you want to serve, the people that align with your core values. And a lot of people talk about I want to share my story. I want to do that in a compelling way. Well, they don't know how. And that's what we're going to talk about today, an easy, proven framework that you can go through and utilize to create your branding, to create your own story in a way that's going to connect with the people that you're working to serve. Okay? So before we dig into this though, I want to start with the foundational component, and that is why. Why are you in business and why do you do what you do? Now, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about this today because this isn't the core topic, but you knowing why you are in business and what you're trying to accomplish is so important because that is the undertone for your story. It is the thing that is going to come out in the imagery you use, in the content that you're using, it's going to come out. So if you're not really clear on what that is, it's important that you spend some time doing that. I'm sure that in the coaching process, Mark is going to work with you on that. There's great resources by Simon Sinek. Start with Why. He even wrote another great book called Find Your Why. I highly recommend those. But the power of why is really important in a couple reasons, and I'll give one that's happening right now. So I've been an Apple fan for a long time. I've got it all. I've got the MacBook Pro, I've got the AirPods, I've got the Apple Watch, all the things, right? I've got them. And it's been that way for a long time. There was a season where I briefly switched to being a PC user, but that didn't last long and I came back to Mac. So the crazy thing is, are Apple devices really better than PCs? Maybe, maybe not. That can be argued. Is an Apple Watch better than a Samsung Watch? I don't know. Is it better than, see, you said yeah, right? I tend to think so. But I'm in a phase of life where there's some things that are different, where as far as what I'm wearing on my wrist, I am actually thinking about switching away from an Apple Watch. And it's very compelling because some of my interests have changed. I've got really big into CrossFit, doing Spartan races and all that. And there's another brand out there that really resonates with that. Garmin is really big. Now, the Apple Watch is great with fitness tracking and all that. But as my story is starting to change and my why is starting to be a little bit different, well, Apple doesn't really resonate as much on that. So because of that, Garmin may or may not be a better product, I don't know. But I'm starting to reflect more with the why behind the Garmin brand than I am the Apple brand and that. Now, I'm not getting away from Apple computers and AirPods and things like that, but it's just a personal example of a thing where a company that I connect with, it's changing, and as a result, my purchase choices may be different. So do any of you here have an example of where you have connected or done business with a brand specifically because your why aligned with theirs? You knew their values, you knew what they stood for, and you chose to do business with them based on that, or even when you aligned with somebody that worked at that company. Any stories about that from anyone? Mark?
I'll share one that is, so I changed, when I decided to change my marketing and how I told my story, I changed marketing strategists to Adam. He didn't realize he was setting this up, but so this was not prearranged, but it just made me think. When I decided to change my story about my business and my growth plans for my business, I needed a new marketing approach. I needed to tell my story to a bigger world in a different way. So I went to the person in Louisville that I knew was the strongest story person, and that was Adam. So I had been working with other people for a couple of years, but they no longer fit what I wanted to be, where I wanted to go. And so I looked for a new brand, and they were surprised that I terminated our relationship, but that was okay. They weren't a fit for me. I had a new story, and I needed a new storyteller. So that's my example.
Wow. Well, thank you for that, Mark. That's amazing. And so just for context, right? So just to let everyone know what it is that I do. So I serve as a pure fractional chief marketing officer, okay? In my past, I've been involved with 3 marketing agencies, 2 of which have been acquired, one of which I helped double their revenues in about a year, and I exited from that. So marketing is something that's always been in my DNA. And I looked at what the market needed, and they don't need another marketing agency out there. There's a lot in Louisville. And so I chose to bring my expertise as that person that's working with strategy, working with other marketing agencies to fulfill the needs that the clients have. So I don't sell websites, I don't do SEO stuff, I don't do social media or anything like that. It's literally coming in and alongside working with the executive team as if I am the actual marketing director working in a company, and then we work through the various people on your team and things like that. So just for that context, that's what I do. I know our sponsor today, Kenny Markham, he's here at 301. They do great work building websites, and that's the kind of thing that we do not do, but we would refer work to Kenny. And the great thing is when we refer work to anybody, we don't take a cut, we don't take anything. So if I come to a company and say, hey, you need a new website, or you need somebody to help with social media, it's done, and that I'm not getting a cut, I'm not getting anything. It's just making that introduction because that's who's best going to work with you based on their expertise, budget, and all that. And it puts me in a really, really good spot because I'm not selling anything, that when I make those recommendations, you know the spot from where it's coming from. So, but I just wanted to give that perspective based on what Mark said here to make sure everybody was clear on the services that I offer through Strategy. So, all right. So now that we have the background of why, now we get to get into the storytelling part. So, oh, thank you. I was just going to ask for that. All right. So the first thing that I want to start with is to make sure that we understand everything that we do in business. It's not about us. It's about them. It's about the people that we're serving, right? So the businesses, when we do them well, it is going to serve us. It is going to serve our families. But ultimately, we have to keep the perspective in the right place and remember that we're here to make a difference in the lives of other people. And when we keep that in the right perspective, everything else through the story is going to make sense. So let's go ahead. Okay, so with what we're going through today, I'm absolutely standing on the shoulders of a giant out there. Okay, so everything I'm going here, this is not new. Every movie, every fiction book you've read, every play you've seen, you can go back and look, and it's got different elements of story. We're going to be going through these elements here. This strategy, this framework was created by Donald Miller. He wrote a book called Storybook. If you have not read that book, go pick up that book and read that book. It's absolutely amazing. Now, what I'm going to share is a little bit of my perspective and a couple things that are different than the way that Donald presents them, but I cannot recommend that book enough. And I just want to make sure that you all know that this is not original to me. And in fact, what I've learned as being an entrepreneur and reading so many things, there's not that many new original ideas out there, right? So I have the Catalyst Book Club over the last year. We've read a lot of personal development books from Marie Forleo to David Goggins, so many books. And if you read these books, they all say the same thing. So many of the movies that we've been talking about here, they all really say the same thing. In fact, my wife and I are at a point where we go watch a movie. I don't know, maybe I'm just getting old or something. I'm going to be 44 here in May, but they don't have the excitement they did when I was growing up, just because usually you know what's going to happen. So, but what's different is the way that the story is told, the way it pulls you in. And so that's really important as we go through the framework. So the first thing I want to talk about here is to introduce the hero. Every story has a hero, all right? And so before we start talking and digging into that, let's talk about who is the hero. And the stories that we tell as our business, who is the hero? Any guesses here in the audience? Who's the hero? Who?
The company.
The company, okay. Any other thoughts?
In my line of work, it's the family that we serve and
Okay.
the elderly loved one that's the goal is being accomplished for.
Yeah.
They're the hero.
Okay, got it. All right, so these two answers here are the most common ones that we get, right? It's the company doing the work or it's the person being served. And the core answer is that it's the story or the person being served, right? It's the customer, it's not the company. We're going to introduce that in a minute. Now, there are elements of hero in both, but at the end of the day, the hero in the story is the person that you're trying to serve. And does anybody know why that is? Why do we want to make sure that the person we are serving is the hero?
Because their needs are getting met.
Yeah, their needs are getting met They're the ones out there fighting the battle. And when we think about ourselves, we all kind of like to think that we're the hero, right? I mean, I do. I don't know. I mean, I help coach middle school football. For some reason, I like to think I'm like a hero out there living vicariously through the kids that still get to have fun on the field. But at the end of the day, I'm not the hero, right? They're the heroes. They're the ones out there battling. So having that perspective is really important, that we recognize who that hero is and that we make them feel that way. Another thing that's really important about this is that business owner, they're out there fighting, scrapping, doing everything they can survive and earn a living for their family. Just like all of you are too, right? But in this element, we want to make sure that we know and we recognize that, and we're going to be coming alongside to help. So that's the first thing. Make sure you've got the right perspective on who that hero is. All right. So the next element is we have to be very, very clear on what the problem is that they're facing. Okay, we've all got problems, right? Trust me, we've all got problems. We deal with them every single day. And so the more clear we can be on that problem, the better it's that we're going to be able to serve and communicate that story. So let me ask you this. Who can tell me very quickly the problem that you solve for your clients? What's the core problem? Yes, ma'am.
My clients are stressed out, overwhelmed, they feel shame, embarrassment about finances.
Okay.
Adam, can you repeat the question for the Zoom people?
Yes, I certainly can.
Are the
What is the
response-
core problem that you solve for your clients?
And the answer was, your clients are stressed out, overwhelmed,
They feel shame, embarrassment about finances.
so they're embarrassed and shamed about their finances.
Okay, got it. Now here's what I love about your answer. Home run, right? You knocked it out of the park. Because what is it that you actually do? Bookkeeping, right? You notice that? That's not the problem that she's solving. That's what she does. Okay, that's how it relieves that other thing. So often as business owners, we look at the thing that we do as ultimately solving the problem rather than looking underneath the surface and figuring out what that thing really is. All right, so let me pose a question here for you. Last year we didn't get to go on vacation. We didn't get to do anything because of COVID and all that. It was heartbreaking when I had to cancel our trip to Myrtle Beach over the summer. Oh, I had to do that. So I recently just booked another trip to Myrtle Beach. Hopefully we're actually going to get to go and hang out this summer. So let me ask you this. What is the problem that the hotel or resort, whatever it is solving for me and my family? Think about the core of it. The example we just had.
You're trying to create a new sense of engagement with your family
Okay.
away from the homestead that everyone's getting tired of.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. So they're providing me with a way to create memories with my family, right? That's the engagement. Now, what I'm getting from them is a hotel room on the beach, right? But that's not the true problem they're solving, right? So what we've got here is at the core, when we're looking at solving problems for people, we're doing one of two things. We're either relieving pain or we're providing a pleasurable experience for them, something that's going to give them pleasure. And in some cases, it's both. But when we bring this down to brass tacks, that's it. And it's important for you to know what that is, okay? So let me ask you this. If I hurt my back and I need to go see a chiropractor, okay? What is that chiropractor doing for me?
Giving you your life back so you can do all the things you need to do.
Yes, and so they're relieving pain, right? Okay.
Causing more pain.
Well, they could.
Then the initial,
Yes.
then the pain comes
Yes.
later.
Amy spoke great wisdom there. So my wife's a physical therapist, and there's been a few times where she's had to work on me, and she tells me the things that she does with her patients. And some of those times, yeah, it feels like it hurts, right? Before it gets better. So, but anyway.
So Adam, one of our clients is a chiropractor.
Okay.
And the folks on Zoom want to know where he is and why he didn't respond to that question. So,
He's seeing patients right now.
Hey, there
yeah,
you
he's
go.
relieving pain.
Yeah. Okay. So does that make sense to everybody about why you have to get down to that brass tacks? And so when you're working through your messaging and work through this, make sure that bubbles up. You don't want to get too quickly to the how, right? you want to make sure that you understand the core of that pain and what's really going on, because it helps you do everything else a little bit more effectively. Okay, all right, so now we get to the fun part. This is where we get to introduce the guide. And the guide is the person that comes alongside and helps the hero solve the problem. So thinking back to movies, fiction books you've read, who is the first guy that comes to mind when you think about those kind of stories?
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones? Okay. Who was the guy in Indiana Jones? Because Indy was the hero, right?
Like Chewbacca to Han Solo.
Okay, well there we go. So Chewbacca could be a guy. Yeah.
Yoda?
Yoda. So I'm gonna tell you, I almost brought baby Yoda. So my 5.5-year-old got baby Yoda today, but I didn't because technically baby Yoda, we don't know if he's a guy yet or not, right? Because baby Yoda is actually Grogu. I mean, the original Yoda is a guy, but yeah, that's the one that always comes to mind. So that would have been a fun problem, but I
How about
did.
Tony Melito?
Tony Melito?
Yeah.
Okay, because
He's
he's the
your
guy
guy.
that can help you get your car, right?
That's their newer car.
Oh my goodness, no, I have never heard that.
Wow.
Dealer for the people?
Okay, dealer for the people. Well, he's right. I
I'm
mean,
not-
Tony is positioning.
I'm not gonna be able to get that voice out of my head for the rest
Yes.
of the day, Greg, thanks.
So
Yeah.
our kids are always talking about
That's a
the
free
Shane
one.
Company.
Okay,
The Shane Company
Yeah.
commercial, everyone will
My
know
kids know
that you're
the
from
address.
Louisville if you say Shane.
yeah,
My kids know the address. When we're at the corner of Hirschborn Lane, they say, "Oh, we're near Shane Company."
there you go. All right, so these have all been great examples, right? Even some real world stuff. I love the Tony Melito, and that's funny. I agree with Mark. I'm gonna have that stupid song in my head now for the rest of the day, so thanks. But you see the power of that, right? And you see how these companies have positioned themselves as the guide. Now let me ask you this. Was he a hero? Yeah, he was, right? Was Chewbacca a hero? Yeah. So often, these guides are often heroes as well, all right? But they're just a different kind of hero. So it's important that we understand that. And I think it's important that you understand that the work you do as that guide is extremely valuable, right? So in the case of Jeff and the mosquito hunter team there, right? Mosquitoes are awful. And they actually came out and served our old house that we had. And, right, knowing that there's somebody that we can bring on that can help spray and get rid of those mosquitoes is fantastic, right? So there's some hero stuff going on there because I'm not going to get rid of the mosquitoes myself. Hey, and I got to tell you, your tagline, pet friendly, child friendly, not mosquito friendly, that is fantastic, right? I love that. That's really, really sticky. That's great marketing. So anyway, all right, so we've got the hero, we got to know what the problem is, and we've introduced ourselves as the guy, all right? So now we have to go through to the next one, and that is presenting a plan, all right? Everybody wants to have their problem solved, whether that's finding a great place to take my family for vacation, whether it's the mosquito issue, finding someone to take care of aging parents, getting taxes done, bookkeeping done, all that. I want to know how to do that. Now, that doesn't mean it's one of those things where as a guide that you got to literally tell me how to do it, but sometimes that can be a really good thing because if it's a very complex, complicated process, sometimes telling the person how to do it is a great way for them to say, you know what, there is no way I'm doing that. Here, let me just pay you to come and do it, right? So because that's just the way that works. So I am not a very mechanically inclined person. In fact, if there is anything that needs to be done repair-wise, you are the last person you want. I am the last person you want touching a hammer, trying to repair anything, because more than likely I'm going to make it way worse. So I'm one of these folks that if something breaks, I'll maybe go look at a YouTube video and decide if I'm going to actually try and do it or not. So last weekend, my pellet grill broke. And I was so proud of myself because I watched the YouTube video, took the whole thing apart, took out the auger and all that and fixed it. That's one of the rare moments when I've actually been able to have a plan like that and fix it. Most of those times when that's presented to me, I'm like, I can't do that. I got to have somebody else to do it. So it's very important when you are communicating through your business, the way that you're going to solve the problem, the how, the two things are very, very clear. And this is where the features and benefits come in of whatever product or solution you're offering. So here in the group, tell me really quickly, what is the difference between features and benefits?
What?
Sometimes this gets really, really confusing.
Feature is like a list of what
Yeah.
it is, and a
Yeah.
benefit is how it will impact your life.
Okay, got it? That's really, really good. The way that I like to look at it is the features are the what, and then the benefits are how it's going to make you feel, or it's how it's going to make your life better. Like for instance, on the Apple Watch, right? It can do EKG, manage your heart rate, all those. Those are all the things that it does, right? But ultimately, if I'm an elderly person, I'm afraid of falling, right? Knowing that this thing has the fall prevention or fall detection, well, that makes me feel a little bit better that if I do fall, that I've got something on my wrist to do that. So that's an example of a feature and then the benefit. So
Adam,
yes.
we've got a good one on the chat. Feature is about you, benefit is about your
Ooh,
customer.
I love that. Yes. Yes. Who shared that? That's really good.
Let's see. That was Jeremy Scher.
Okay. Yeah, Jeremy, right on the money. Thank you for that so much. Excellent. All right. Any other thoughts on the feature and benefit? All right. Very good. So putting that plan together and being clear on how to communicate that to make sure that they understand is so important. And again, going back to the why. Remember that in the imagery you use, the words you speak, the content you write on your website, email marketing, social media, or whatever, your why is going to continue to bubble up, right? That's the culture of who you are, your company. And so it's important to keep these things in mind as we're going through. Now, the next thing that we want to do, and I love these images right here, the kids that are the superheroes. In fact, today at my kids' school, for my youngest, it's been some fun festive week. Earlier, they had dressed up as a superhero today. Today was dressed up as a, holiday vacation today. So he went in his beach outfit, right? So, I mean, I love these images. So the next thing that we want to do is make sure that we are calling them to action by inspiring that action, right? So often we can go through the entire process of letting them know that they're the hero, okay? Saying we understand the problem. We're going to be your guide. Here's the plan. So often it stops right there because the plan is hard. They don't know what to do. As humans, we often need something calling us to action, something motivating, okay? So over the last 4 months or so, I've gotten to know Mark. Now, I've known Mark from before, but over the last 4 or 5 months, I've really gotten to know Mark and Sandy and the team here. And I love what they do because so often, regardless of what we're doing, we need that coach, we need that guide, we need that person that is inspiring us to act, especially if things are hard. And we all know as business owners, it's hard to own a business, right? And sometimes we're looking at these choices. Do I choose this company or this product or this service or whatever? And you got all this stuff going around in your mind and you don't know what to do next. So having a very compelling call to action, that next step to get people to act is critically important. So in your messaging, you have to be clear on that. One of the things that I always encourage in your marketing is don't make the people you're trying to connect with think, right? You don't want them to think too much when it comes to the call to action part. You want to inspire them and have them take that next step. You want to tell them how to do that. So on your website, for example, if you got something where they can download a PDF or sign up for this, that, or the other, don't make it complicated. Make it really clear what you want them to do and tell them exactly how to do it. So creating the messaging, creating the mechanisms by which is going to inspire people to take that next step is really important. There's also another element of this as well. And that is you want to, just lost my train of thought, make it easy for them to become a customer of yours. I mean, really simple. And you can do that by giving free trials, right? You can do this by giving a performance guarantee. Just make it really easy to come in and do business with you. And this is where you can have them quickly tell them what to do as you're going through how to take action and take that next step. So those are a couple things that are important there. All right, so once you've inspired action, hopefully they've taken the next step with you. This is where it gets kind of challenging sometimes, because in any relationship and anything, it can get difficult. And this is kind of a two-pronged approach here that we have to look at as business owners. So first of all, it is completely possible for you to do everything you can to inspire action and to inspire that next step, and it not work, right? Business development, bringing on new customers is really, really, really hard. So this next part has two meanings for it. One for you all trying to grow your business, and then one for the customers. So let's talk about what you're trying to do first in terms of acquiring new customers. Acquiring new customers is hard. You can do everything right, from telling the right story to the right messaging to the right call to actions, and they're still not going to come on board, right? And it can be for a whole lot of reasons. There's a lot of competitors out there in many of the spaces we serve, and so we have to be willing to go and do battle. And often to go through and do that, it's just like going through an obstacle course race right here. It's gross, it's muddy, and it's just blah. Well, we just got to get up and fight, and we got to compete every day. And that's why I love this image here. This lady's this fierce look on her face, and just determined that she loves what she does. She's going to make it through this obstacle, and she's going to win. And that's the attitude that we have to have as business owners. We're not going to acquire every customer. We're not going to win every deal. There are going to be some people that are going to resonate more with X brand or Y brand than our brand. And that's okay, because as business owners anyway, we don't want to be serving all things to all people. That's not who we are. That's not a great way to build a long-lasting business, right? Going back to our why, you got to know who you are, what you're trying to accomplish, what really resonates with you, and that's going to highlight that niche market. Those people you really want to serve and who your ideal customer is. So that's the first thing. The second component of this is that when you bring on a new customer, your goal is to help them solve their problem. That's what this whole thing started with, right? You know who the hero is, you identify your problem. Now, this is where you, your team, your product, your service, or whatever, you're coming alongside this person and you're helping them solve this problem. Now, depending on what you do, maybe that's easy, maybe that's hard, I don't know. But at the end of the day, we've got to help this person get to where they want to be, because that's what we're in business for. When we do this well, we're going to feel great, they're going to feel great, and they're going to tell people about it. That's what we want to do. And sometimes that's an up and down road. I'm not sure about you all, but there have been many times throughout my business career where there was a rocky relationship. Things started great, things got going, it was challenging, but addressing those challenges head on, being open, being transparent, led to even deeper relationships. So we just got to understand relationships are tough, even with customers, and we have to be willing to go through that battle. All right? Does that make sense to everybody? So let's think back to movies or books. What is one of the most climatic movie scenes or things you've read in a book that really resonates out to you? I mean, obviously we've seen the entire movie, so we know what it is. But that really sticks is that, oh, that was that moment in that movie when I didn't know what was going to happen, but they made it through. Anything that's really big to anybody like that?
When Andy breaks out of Shawshank.
Okay, yeah, that was a good one.
The
Yeah.
Sixth Sense, in the movie The Sixth Sense, when he realizes that well, I don't want to ruin it, as everybody says.
All right, got it. Sixth Sense, any others?
Well, there's a TV show that's a series on Netflix called Behind Her Eyes.
Okay.
That was, I mean, it was weird to get through it, but that last episode was like, wait, what?
Got
It's a
it,
huge
got it.
twist.
Did you watch it yet? I'm gonna have to watch
Huge
it.
twist. I was like, oh gosh, is there another like
Yeah,
10 more episodes to watch? But no, it was the
Yeah.
end. I'm like,
got it. Movies like that are fun, aren't they? Where you just literally don't know what's going to happen. And I'm drawn to movies and stories like that because so often we know what's going to happen, right? The hero always wins and all that. And I like those. But when the outcome is different than what you think, it can be really fun from that perspective. So, all right, very good. All right, I have no idea who this dude is. I don't know, but I was looking for a fun image that looked like just some guy that was gonna party or something, and this is it. Because the final element of this is that we want to celebrate success, right? Life is hard, right? Doing things well is hard. And when we are able to help our customers overcome and get to where they are, we want to celebrate that because we've helped them through something, we've solved a problem for them, and we want to make sure that we recognize that, especially if they're the ones that are going through and doing that. That's what we've done here, right? This morning when you guys put your Q1 wins up there, you celebrated that. Mark and his team are helping you all through this and look at the wins that have resulted. Taking time to celebrate that is really important. Now, I don't know that we were at this level of fun celebrating those wins, I don't know, but it was pretty cool to see some of the smiles and hear those stories, right? So when we're putting this into our messaging, some of the things that we can do is make sure that the people we're marketing to and telling our story with is know what winning looks like, right? So you can call this testimonials, you can call this social proof, whatever. But if I'm looking to figure out if I want to do business with a company or not, I want to hear what other people say, right? So whether I'm putting that on my website or somebody's going looking at Google reviews or whatever, that's really, really important because people are going to be curious to know what other people's experiences are. And the more authentic those stories can be, the more real, the better. Because people today, we're pretty savvy, right? I think most people have a little bit of, when it comes to marketing, okay, is that a paid actor or is that a real person, right? People want real today. We've had enough of the spit and polish and being lied to, this, that, and the other. We just want to know what's real. What is the real story? And I think the more of those that we can have in our marketing is going to be really important. And the way that we get those is by actively going through and giving a mechanism to celebrate the wins for everybody, all right? So what we've run through here is a 7-step process that really makes up every element of a story. And trust me, especially if you go read the Story Brand book, whenever you go watch a movie, read a play or whatever, you'll start to recognize every one of these elements in every movie, every fiction book, everything you look at. So just to recap, first thing we want to do is we want to introduce the hero. We want to define the problem. We introduce the guide, provide an action plan to solve the problem. We're going to inspire action. We're going to help them overcome challenges. And in the midst of that, we've got to overcome our own challenges as well. And then finally, we're going to celebrate success. So that's it. And the thing that I love about this framework, it's so simple. In fact, even if you go Google, it's just Donald Miller Story Brand Framework. He's got a worksheet, free PDF that you can download, and it walks through this exact same thing. So again, I can't encourage enough, if you haven't gone through and taken a look at that book, to do that and see what he has to offer. He's got a lot of free videos and things out there like that are similar that'll walk you a little bit deeper. So what I want to talk about now is what are some use cases to apply this, all right? From my experience, you need to go through from a branding perspective and answer this at a very high level for your brand, right? It's going to help you figure a lot of things out. And so once you've done that at a high level, depending on the products and services you offer, this story, the different elements of this may differentiate a little bit from product to service, depending on who your audience is. Most businesses don't have the one, they've got more than one typical client persona that they're going after, so you can adjust and tweak this. One of the things I want to share too, these 7 story elements here can all be done very quickly. It doesn't take pages and pages to do this. A social media post can actually encompass all of this, especially if you're using the right imagery, all right? So when you have this framework down, it's easy to apply to many things. Your web pages, in some ways, should all follow the elements of this story. Now, this doesn't mean that every page has to have every single one of these elements on it, right? Because sometimes it depends on what you're trying to accomplish on the page. Is it a conversion page? Is it an information page? It really does depend. But going through and following these is going to help you organize and structure your website in a way that's going to tell a story. Because who's ever been to a website where the only thing the website talked about was the company and what they do in them, right? That typically doesn't do very well. Typically when people are looking at your marketing, when they're looking at your messaging, they want to know what you're going to do for them. They want to know how well you understand them. You want to see you in those images. You want to see that they're connecting with you. So setting up your website, setting your marketing to do that is really important. Email messaging. We already talked about social media, just really anything that you're doing, even as you're talking one-on-one in sales processes, having all this in line is going to be really important. So All right, so this is the end of the presentation. We've got a little less than 10 minutes. So I wanted to leave time for any Q&A, either from you all here in the live audience or anybody online. If there's any questions that I can answer for anybody about this framework, just overall marketing, well, we've got a few minutes left. So if anybody has any questions, let me know. Yes, Amy?
So just hearing your story and learning about your background, and my background's marketing, graphic design. I had no idea that there was such a niche as a marketing strategist. So as Mark and I and Jeff have been working through some things and trying to uncover areas that I can incorporate other partners in to help us grow, it's never occurred to me that I never really wanted to let go of the marketing myself because that's kind of where I enjoy.
Yeah.
But I knew that there's elements that I'm stuck. And even though we're in a franchise and we have tools, it's like, how do I
Sure. Yeah.
get over that? Like, there's something missing. So the strategist piece is very intriguing to me. So I'll talk, Mark and I'll talk.
All right. Well, you know what it is, in my opinion, through life, we all need coaches, we all need outside perspectives, because all of us, we get stuck in our own ways of looking at things. And sometimes just having an outside perspective coming in can be very valuable, whether that's just a 90-minute strategy session or working together with somebody. There's always value in that. So, and that's the reason why you hired Mark, right? He's an expert in this, he and his team, and that's what they do. And they can help you see things you don't see because they're not so close to it. And there's things in my life where I absolutely have an outside coach or somebody working with me because I know the things that I can't see. So, but thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And one of the things I love about this, Amy, is that because I'm not selling anything, the focus is just on the high level, what are we trying to do? Because I'm not selling websites, I'm not selling anything, so it really frees me up to focus on
And
the
that's
metrics
what
and make things that we're doing, because there's no ulterior motive in anything we do other than to helping you win.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, all right. Any other questions
So
from online?
what do I do with my story once I got it?
Yeah, great question. So once you've got your story, you need to find ways to communicate that. So typically, once the story elements are created, I recommend creating what's called a customer acquisition plan. And this customer acquisition plan, I recommend looking at it over a 90-day period where you are identifying what your goals are, which Mark and his team help you do, but then figure out how it is that you're going to leverage that story through the different marketing mediums to connect with your audience. So for example, your website most of the time is ground zero. That's where you want to make sure your story is very clear, the call to actions are there, all the things we talked about today. And then from there, what other mechanisms are you going to use? Is it going to be doing webinars? Is it via your blog? Is it videos on social media? And organizing all this into that customer acquisition plan and how you're going to execute those strategies through that. So typically I use a calendaring format where we have the entire goals, but then we go in throughout these calendars from week to week to month, and we put all this out on paper, and then from there we back into the very specific elements of it. So there's many different ways to get the story out there, but you got to have it first, and then from there it's going through and creating that plan. Yeah, great question. All right, any other questions from the group or from the audience here?
Okay, Zoomers.
Just type it in the chat. If you got a question.
Got just a couple minutes left, so. Yes, ma'am.
I get that, putting this in your marketing on website and social media is kind of a light bulb moment putting into action in the sales process. Because I feel like that, yesterday I had 2 consultations and I didn't close them, and now I'm like reviewing these steps. And so what are some ways you can infuse this into the sales process?
Sure. Great
Adam,
question.
can you repeat the question so everybody can
Yeah,
hear?
so the question is, and I'm sorry, what was your name?
Tanya.
From Tanya, is how to integrate this into your sales process, basically. So in my perspective, when I work with organizations, I don't create a marketing plan. I create a customer acquisition strategy or customer acquisition plan. And I do that because sales and marketing are so intertwined. At the end of the day, the stories and the framework that I use in marketing is no different than what I'm doing in a sales process. I'm in many cases going and doing the exact same thing in terms of, I want to let them know I understand the problems that you're having, and we do that by asking questions, right? And that obviously puts them at the center of attention where we know that we're there to solve them. So that really gets you through that first two of asking really good questions. And then from there, you are presenting yourself as the guy. And so once you know what that problem is, you can come through and start talking to solutions and how you can help. And once you've gone through and done that, there is that call to action. You know, are you ready to get started? Or how can I help? Or whatever process you have from there. And then if they say yes, great. If not, no, then that's where you're going through the overcoming. So it really does follow the exact same thing. So if you have a sales flow that you're working through, if you look through each of these elements, you can do the exact same thing with that. And especially as a small business owner, if you're the one primarily doing the selling, there's very, very closeness between what your marketing messaging is and what they're going to get with you in person. And likewise, that's why knowing that why is so important, especially as a solopreneur or small business. There's no difference, right? And so they have to make sure that the messaging you're putting out there in all your marketing is the same thing that they're going to experience with you when they meet you. That's where we get into problems sometimes as a business, especially with larger businesses, and why culture is so important. If the branding and the marketing says this is who we are, but then you interact with customer XY or employee XYZ, and it doesn't work out right at all. So a few weeks ago, I went to Chick-fil-A, and everybody knows that Chick-fil-A is renowned for their service, right? It was my pleasure, and just all this stuff. Well, I went to Chick-fil-A, and for the first time ever, somebody at Chick-fil-A they weren't rude, but it wasn't the Chick-fil-A experience I'd come to expect. And I was like, what just happened there, right? Have any of you ever had moments like that?
My best friend just this week, must have been the same Chick-fil-A, didn't give her salad dressing and didn't give her forks for her salad. She was like, world is coming to an end. She put it on Facebook. She put it on Facebook.
Yeah, and what's crazy, as much you almost expect that when you go to some of the other places, right? But you don't. And so that brand alignment is really, really important. So I hope that answers your question. I don't know if it goes exactly, but it's really easy to put the same things into your process.
And Adam, we've got something in the chat there about.
So what Jeremy said, you know, is you need to, so what do people buy on logic or emotion? Emotion. So the sales process has to get your client, your prospect, talking about their story before you share your story. And the story, so they share their story, so they get emotional about their needs. That's why stories work, because it brings out emotions. And then you marry your story into it by the types of questions you ask, and then you have the opportunity to present possible solutions that match their emotional state so that your story lines up with their story to do that. And so remember when we saved the one client, right, back in January, we got some emotion out of there. Instead of just, she was thinking logic, 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 right? Price, 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 logic, logic, logic. And you went back and said emotion, emotion, emotion. And she said, oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. So it's the same way. It's working the right questions in to get them to tell their story before you tell yours.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Well, very good. So there's one more slide. It's just got my contact information on there. So if anybody has any questions or anything that I can do to help, don't hesitate. I always give a free 90-minute consultation. If anybody that's got questions or anything I can help, you get it all, right? If we do that 90 minutes, I give you everything I got. You can take that and do whatever you want with it. So if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. But again, I just want to thank Mark, Sandy, Liz for the opportunity to do this. I've known about Action Coach for a long time. And as I've been able to see them up close and what they do, I got to tell you, I'm a huge fan of Mark and his team. And it just really, so my personal mission, I'll tell you, is to help people get from where they are to where they want to be. I'm not a business coach. That's not my gifting. Folks like Mark and Sandy and their team, that's their gifting and do what they do. And I tell folks all the time about what they're doing. So I want to give you guys big kudos for working with Mark and his team. to understand that you need that help and to do that. So thank you all for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure to speak to everybody.